I didn't. No. Oh. Wait. Why is my mic? Oh. Hello. There we go. Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hmm. Is this just not going to behave today? Hello? There we go. Hey there, friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time it might be where you are out there. Welcome back to the live stream. This is C# with CSharpFritz, and today is November 15th, 2021. And we're going to learn a little bit about C#9 and C#10. Now, it's been a week. This mic is cutting out on me. I really need to pull this whole thing apart and figure out what's going on here, don't I? There it goes again. All right, we're going to switch mics then. I don't get it. But this is why we have backups. Okay. It's been a week away. I spent a week on the other coast. Let me tell you, I normally am broadcasting to you from right here, the friendly confines of my home studio. But last week we had .NET Conf 2021, and oh my gosh, did you tune in? Did you get involved? Did you see all the cool things that were happening last week? Not only did we have .NET Conf, we also had the launch of Visual Studio 2022. It was an amazing week for developers. I hope you were part of the event. Let me say hello to some of our friends that are over here in the chat room. They're right here. There's the chat room right there. Hello, my friends. It's so good to see you. Let me scroll up here. And I see Rizwan is here. Krister is here. RA1. Rizwan, how you doing? Fernando Nomalini, hello to you in Brazil. Lycan1534 is over there on Twitch. R. Rittenhouse, good morning to you. Is that Tran Van Tuan in Vietnam? Good evening. Hello, hello. Shoaib on YouTube. The Uncle Kali, hello to you. Fernando with the big thumbs up. Stanislav asks, as a new guy, do I have to learn .NET Core and .NET Framework? Or is it just better to get started with .NET 6 right away? Go with .NET 6. The only reason that I would recommend somebody to use .NET Framework is if they are confined to only using Windows. Otherwise, I would say use .NET 6. Banditol, hello, hello. R. Rittenhouse. You were really getting into that intro music? I've got some more of that. I've got it laying around here somewhere. Danny JP asks, why is throwing exceptions expensive? It's expensive to throw exceptions because you have to unwind the stack, it's called. Whenever code executes, there's a stack that .NET keeps in memory of, here's the things, this called this, called this, called this, and this is where we are in the stack of calls. So when you throw in an exception, say this right, I'll get it right, I promise I will. When you throw an exception, it has to unwind and walk up the stack when it isn't expecting to. You didn't return a value. You didn't stop processing. You threw an exception, and now it needs to walk back up that. And that can be a little expensive and something that you'll want to avoid. So test for those exceptional cases and make sure that exceptions really are the exception to how your application is processing, not the standard way that you're interacting with things. Hello, Hop in the Cloud. Tiago Freitas, good to see you. Oh my goodness. That's I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Hello to you in Nigeria. Shahib in India. Hello. Yeah, this microphone has been acting up on me recently. I bet it's the cables. I'm going to have to rerun the wires here a little bit later. Ibrahim, how's it going? Psychotics J in Zimbabwe. Hello. So many folks here. This is so great to see all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Jimmy Angstrom is here. Jaya Kumar, good morning to you. We're going to get into our topic here in just a little bit. We'll talk about .NET Conf, and we'll get into C#9 and C#10 in just a little bit. Dominic Woozy, hello. A live without issues is not a fun live. You know what? I'm frustrated because this microphone was running really good for me, and I'm not quite sure what's going on with it. Shelly777, hello to you. You need a microservices tutorial for beginners. Check out my friend Nish Anil. Just posted a very good microservices tutorial that you can find on the .NET YouTube channel, youtube.com/.net. And you can find it in there. Look for the videos. It's one of the most recent half dozen videos that you'll see up there that aren't from .NET Conf. All the .NET Conf videos are being released. A bunch of them last week. More in the next few days. We should be done them. Hey, Charles Galuli. Good to see you. 20 fiber circuits down at work. Oh, my goodness. You learned a fair bit amount during the conference. Plenty of new things to try out, says Snedex on Twitch. Yeah. Kavako V in Bulgaria. How's it going there? Hello to you in Ukraine, Stanislav. 4 p.m. to you there. Right at nearing the end of the day. I'm just getting started with a nice cup of coffee here. Anderson, hello to you in Brazil. Fatern in Norway. Debabrata in India. How's it going there? Yellow to you, Ali, in South Africa. Good vibes from Thomas. Thank you. PKB123. Hello. Ivan in South Africa. We're going to get through all these hellos. Wa in Riyadh. Hrishikesh in India. Dominic Woozy really loves C#. I do too. I even named myself after it. Know what I'm saying? Is that supposed to be George TV in Bulgaria? Manuel in Mexico. Bharat in India. How you doing there? Burger B. Hey, good morning to you. Benjamin Poker in the Netherlands. Tinker Fu in Switzerland. Stellion in Romania. Pudi in India. One Lion. Hey, how's it going there? Still trying to wake up. Alatun Bosun in Canada. Phong Tran in Vietnam. James in the UK. How you doing there, James? .NET Conf was awesome, says Ancient Coder. Thank you so much. We've been working for the last 6 months on the event. A lot of hard work from the team, particularly from our executive producer, Beth Massey, the two co-producers, Javier Lozano and myself, all the hosts, Scott Hanselman, Jamie Singleton, Kendra Havens co-hosting with me on day 2, Sam Basu, Layla Porter, Laurent Bugnon, Katie Savage, Brady Gaster. It was an amazing event. We really had a great time putting that on for you. Hey, Mohammed, hello to you in Saudi Arabia. Abith Balan says, why is C# ranking lower than other programming languages like Python and JavaScript? Disagree. If you look at the Stack Overflow most loved languages, 2021, yes. Technology. No, I wanted most loved. It is in at 61.96%. It is below Python, and I'm not sure why it's below Python and Node, considering just how nasty they are with respect to error messages, compile time issues, resolving packages. Not exactly easy to do with those. You don't get very friendly interactions with them. Developer tooling is not as complete and friendly as it is with C# and the .NET languages. Quite frankly, C# isn't used as much as some of those languages because of how they're used in university. And we think that's a mistake. That's something that we want to make sure that folks have fantastic developer tooling so you can be very productive with. Let me see here. You love the Doctor Who mug? Thank you so much. Azure Container Service is something you're very interested in also, asks Finn, like a simple version of Azure Kubernetes services. Totally agree. Norberto, hello to you in the Philippines. Yurik in Ukraine. Can I help you build microservices? Sorry, that's not the topic of today's session. Take a look at Nish's video over on YouTube. Thank you so much, Chris Jones, with the big congratulations on .NET Conf. Hello to you, Dang Tuan in Vietnam. Fedor, creating Lambda always allocates memory? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There's some of the Lambdas now actually don't allocate memory at all. John Dennis, viewing from Kenya. How you doing there? Andrej from Slovakia. You already upgraded some web APIs at a client site to .NET 6, says Hop in the Cloud. We did some benchmarking. .NET 6 is indeed faster than .NET 5. Oh, yes. And the ideas that we have to make .NET 7 even faster are coming. It's going to be great. Sergey in Denmark. You love C# there? Fantastic. We all love C#. I totally agree. And the UCC, I think you might be onto something. There is still a bit of Microsoft hate out there, even though we are about 10 years into this very significant open source. All are welcome. We want to make sure everybody can use and have tremendous access to developer tools. And of course, premium developer tools as well if you want to get Visual Studio 2022. We think this is something that everybody should be entitled to. And when we look at the state of other programming languages and tools out there, it's just not something that we think is as friendly, as productive as it could be. So our tools and interactions for .NET are really great. That's why so much of our Microsoft product stack is built with .NET. So Fong Tran asks, what do I think about Hot Reload? Hot Reload is a really cool feature, and there's more they're going to be doing with it. They need to develop it further. They need to make it more capable of handling other types of changes. There was a great session from the program manager, Dmitry Lialin, last week at .NET Conf. Check it out. There's some really cool stuff that he shows off in there, and you can use Hot Reload with pretty much any .NET application, whether it's console applications, ASP.NET, Blazor, coming soon with .NET Maui. Really cool stuff that you're able to do with it, and we're going to make that even more accessible and capable with some of the other project types. C# has linked, no comparison from other languages. Yeah. Where can you find the results of the Cloud Skills Challenge? I don't know yet. It's open for a few more weeks, so we'll see about the latest there. How's it going there? Wakta in the Ukraine, CTI Geek in Virginia. Link is not pure evil. It's actually getting better and better, faster and faster, because you're able to run link statements without it allocating memory, and that's really what you want when you look at link as an abstraction over interacting with a set of data. It's great stuff. Chandra Kiran in India. Mike, hello to you in Greece. Piotr in Poland. Mfon in Nigeria. Hello to you in Smart Dev. Is that Hua? I'm not sure. Engineering Mathematics by Prashant is in India. How you doing there? Lots of folks saying about .NET Conf. Yeah. .NET 7 hasn't even been started yet. We're in the nightly and planning phase, and it's a year away from release. Can't tell you that yet. We're working on it, but it's the next thing. Is there a report viewer in .NET Core? You should have a report viewer from our friends at Active Reports. Is not packaged with it. It's what's it called? There is a report viewer that should be shipping with it that comes with Visual Studio when you install it there. But there is not a report viewer with the bare framework when you install it. Hey there, Carrie in China. Can you post a link to verify you're viewing the correct microservices video? Asks Trowmix. Yeah, go ahead. It's Crystal Reports, I think, ships with Visual Studio, and you can work with it. But how you doing there, Sergio in Cuba? Voice the first in China. If I use Ra1 asks if I use unsafe code and native free memory allocation in .NET, can I have the same performance like in C++ or comparable for games? Do I have tests for that kind of thing? You're not going to get the same performance like C++ because it's a managed stack. However, Unity does a fantastic job of providing that type of performance and interaction. There's many, many games built with Unity, and you will not feel that type of interaction with it. Some very popular games have been built with Unity. Hello to you, the Pac-Man programmer in Egypt. Visual Studio 2022 is a brilliant project. When will we port it to Linux? We won't. Visual Studio is a Windows product, and there's a version for Mac. Looking through here. Hello, Palen in Rwanda. Hey, the boss fighter. Good to see you. The Pac-Man programmer enjoys F#. Fantastic. We're going to have a month or so on F# here coming up. There's that link from Trailmix. Let me check. Yep. That's the video from Nish. Yes, Trailmix. That's the right link. Using link alpha means planting tables in SQL code throughout your code, which then needs to be maintained. Disagree. You're not doing it right. You're not doing your abstraction right. Try it again. You're not doing it right. Abstractions with a repository pattern so that your link statements only work with the models, your domain models that you're working with in memory, and you're going to be very, very successful with that. Boss Fighter asks if we can slow .NET development. Huh? I'm still in .NET 5, and Microsoft is already talking about version 7. So here's the thing. This is the beauty of this. Microsoft has been rated as the most open source company out there. Talk all you want about the other FANG companies or MoMA or whatever they're calling them now, with Facebook renaming itself. We're talking about .NET 7 because we're planning it and building it, and we want to hear from you about what kinds of things you'd like to see in .NET 7. Those folks who've been on the bleeding edge, who have been working with all the previews, know where we've come from, where we're going, and having good insight into, well, what do we want to do in the next version? Now, .NET 7 is going to be what's called a current release. It's only going to be supported for about 18 months, because right after that, .NET 8 will be another long-term servicing release. So we alternate back and forth like this in the versions of .NET so that you don't have to upgrade to every version. You can stay on .NET 6 for 3 or 4 years and you'll be just fine. If you want to use the cool bleeding edge features and things that are available, you can upgrade to .NET 7 when that comes out, or go grab a nightly build. All of our planning for .NET is in the open. All of the code that we're writing for .NET is available on GitHub. There's no surprises coming here. Okay? Let me see here. Oreo and the Blind Forest, Will the Wisps, and Cuphead are great examples of Unity projects. Thank you, Stanislav, for that comment. Well done. Thank you so much for that. Yes. Any plans for another C# spec book? Don't think so. Everything's online. It's all on the docs and on their GitHub repository. Any Unity for Beginners books coming? Gonna have to talk to the folks at Unity about that. So, Deba Bratha asks, does C# 9 or 10 increase access modifiers? Increase access modifiers. Well, we introduced records. We introduced record structs, or struct records. I get those confused, the order of the modifiers. It's only been available for a week. But there's new things coming there. Keep up with speed at how .NET evolves is challenging, but doable and also fun. And you don't need to use all the new features with each new release. You don't need to. If you do, you'll see benefit, but that's the beauty of having an abstraction over all the things. We're introducing and improving performance on things the way that you normally use them without you having to rewrite your code. That's a beautiful thing. EF Core or Dapper, each has their own place. I like them both. So an 18-month .NET 8 development will start. Probably in about 15 months. They'll start .NET 8 planning and development around August 2022. They'll start. The architects, the leaders, they've got plans laid out, and whenever it doesn't make .NET 7, they'll roll over to .NET 8, and the program managers, the project managers, will figure out where and how they want to go with that. And why am I not getting... How did I not get standby? Standby, switch account. Well, that's just sad. Yes, yes. Come on. Come on, YouTube. No. Way to go. You've done so well here, YouTube. Really? Really? Well, that's going to be a pain. Quite literally, I don't have chat for YouTube anymore. How's that work? Like, seriously? Like, okay. I can't see chat from YouTube anymore. All right. Way to go. Appreciate that, YouTube. Oh my gosh, Ryan Jackson, thank you so much for the kind words there. I can't even moderate my own videos over here on YouTube right now. Wow. That's unreal. Yep. Ah, there we go. No. Why don't I have moderation capabilities? I'm logged in as the channel owner and I can't moderate. Are you kidding? Like, seriously, YouTube. That's just awful. No. Yeah. Really? Nope. Goodbye. There we go. All right, moving on. Much love to C# 10. Thank you so much. With Blazor and .NET Maui, C# is gradually becoming a Swiss Army knife. I love it. It's been that way for a while. But, yeah, wait do you see how we get more through here. You got a department at your university to introduce 2 semester courses on C# and .NET app development. Drop me a line on that. Drop me a line on Twitter, twitter.com/CSharpFritz. Let me know what university you're at. I'd love to hear more about that. Hot reload for Blazor is just awesome. Struct or enum? Why not both? It's good to see .NET back after the .NET Core thing. So there's a history and story there. More coming another time. How to unit test minimal APIs? Not clear. I haven't spent time with that. I know there's ways to do it. I need to go get in there. Any visits to Europe and plan? No. I do not have travel budget for international travel right now, and quite frankly, I'm not comfortable till we get on the other side of some of the pandemic issues. Is GitHub Copilot coming to Visual Studio? Don't know. What's the difference between long-term support and current release? .NET, is it okay to pick either? It is okay to pick either. Let me go to that website and I can show you. Let's head over here. Sounds like somebody pushed an update and messed something up, maybe. So here I am, .NET website. If you go to dot.net, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's a link here, support. Click through there, official support policy. Click that, and it will show you the official terms of support. So choose which one you want. So .NET Core 3.1 ends support December 2022. .NET 5, May 2022. But .NET 6 will be around until November 2024. So check that out. Choose whichever version, and you can stay on that version and still receive support and patches until those dates. Let me get some music playing here in the background before I go into some more questions. This is Stream Beats from Harris Heller. This is music that's been designed to be royalty-free, DMCA-free. Use it however you'd like on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, wherever. Check it out at streambeats.com. They've got playlists for Amazon Music, Apple Music, and Spotify, like I'm listening to right now. Thank you so much to Harris Heller for making this music available for us to listen to today. And there you see the song that's currently playing called Buffer. And you're supposed to fade away now, playlist. You're supposed to fade away now. Thank you. No. Okay, thank you. You've shown the song. Arrivederci. Goodbye. It's not going away. Don't make me hide you. Looking through here. They just put all the using statements in one file instead of in every file. That is a good improvement. We'll talk more about that with C# 10 here. I think it's a little bit more interesting than that. Does Oracle VMbox support Windows 11? Ask Oracle. I don't work for them. Let me see here. I need to go to Studio. That's what I've got right here. There's GitHub Copilot coming to Visual Studio. No, I don't know of any plans for that. .NET Core versus .NET 6. .NET 6. .NET Core is... Now that we've merged everything in, .NET Core has evolved to .NET 6. Please address my pronouns before introducing today's topic. I use the pronouns he, him. But I've been around for a while, and best thing about Blazor, in your opinion, you don't need to learn JavaScript. Okay. Visual Studio 2022 or 2019? 22. Where's the sparkly purple jacket? It's hanging in my closet over there. I have a new purple jacket or two that'll be making their debuts as we get into Blazor topics here on stream. Apparently, Microsoft is killing off UWP going forward. What should existing apps be migrated to? WinUI. UWP isn't being killed off so much as there's been new versions that have been completely incompatible as Windows has changed and upgraded. So go to WinUI and they're trying to maintain better compatibility. So instead of breaking everything on every version of Windows 10, it's not so much killing as they're improving it and renaming it so that you don't get confused with these older versions that are pinned to a version of Windows. Ivan, saludos to you in Peru. Thank you so much, Nerd Herder, for the kind words on hosting .NET Conf. Any sessions with the Scots in plan? No. We're going to be at Dev Intersection in Las Vegas in about a month. After that, not clear. Do I see Fusion dev teams becoming the norm? A little bit more, yes. Can Blazor WebAssembly do everything that React does? Different problems each one of those handles. So, and Blazor WebAssembly is 2 years old. React has been around for 10 years. Blazor WebAssembly is built by a company that focuses on developers. React is built by Meta. Meta doesn't build developer tools. They build tools that help get privacy information. Microsoft builds developer tools and makes them available for free for everybody to use. Sells premium tools. I'll take the Microsoft tools, even though they're still evolving. Let me head back over. Let's see if we can finish a couple more questions here before we head over and start talking about C# 9 and 10. But Blazor WebAssembly cannot do all the things that JavaScript can do because it can't touch the browser. It can only work within the DOM. So if you want to interact with the browser, you need to build a couple little things there. Any news about when mobile Blazor bindings will be released? Mobile Blazor bindings were kind of folded in and turned into Blazor for .NET Maui. Yeah, Buffer and now Overflow, and here we are on a song called Race. Yeah. Hey there, Brave Cobra. Good to see you. What is the killer feature of Win 11? I'm not a Windows person, but I would suggest that Windows Subsystem for Linux with graphical capabilities and Windows Subsystem for Android are the two killer features that you're going to hear about a lot. Hey, Siraj. Hello to you in India. What is the recommended framework for Windows Store apps? Is Maui the way forward? When Maui is released, it will be the way forward. Yes. Shots fired? No, just telling the truth. One thing that I want to be perfectly clear for anybody watching any of my streams. Yes, I do work for Microsoft. I will never sell you. I will never extend the truth. I'm going to tell you how it is, and I'm going to tell you my opinions on things. I only deal in facts here. I'll tell you what I like. I'll tell you what I don't like. I'll tell you how things are and from my perspective in the industry. But I will never sell you and try to trick you into doing something that isn't worth your time. So, do I have any videos for MVC and API? Yes, you can find those on YouTube, youtube.com/.net. Check C# for CSharpFritz playlist, and you'll see it there. Gino asks, what's my preference, web or desktop applications? Web. Easily web. What's a great choice for cross-platform non-web tech tool for C# development? For a single developer, Visual Studio Code. Easy. Can you do a Linux GUI app in .NET 6? Check out Avalonia, and that'll help you with that. Please don't repeat questions. I read every question, every line in chat. I see your questions. If I don't answer it, there's a reason. I need to move on. I've got a lot of stuff in here. Why C# 9 and 10? Why not just C# 10? Because a lot of folks still aren't using C# 9 to its fullest. Code with Harry. Who's Harry? Please, no cross promotion. That's kind of that's a little what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a little improper to promote somebody else and spam. Are you serious? Sorry. Goodbye. And another person gone. Let's see here. Just use Blazor Server. It works perfectly for static web pages. Blazor Server or Blazor WebAssembly? You can't use Blazor Server for static web pages. Will Maui move in a similar direction in speed as Flutter? Here's the deal. The folks that are making Flutter all used to work on .NET. Most of them used to work on .NET. A number of the program managers used to work on .NET. So, yes. Can I run WinExe forms connected with SQL and Linux? No, it was built for Windows. So it doesn't work on Linux, unless you install some sort of virtualization, but no. Can I move to America as a software developer without a comp sci degree? Yes. Bad etiquette. Thank you, Chris Jones. It's terrible etiquette to promote somebody else's stream or channel without asking for it. Or receiving approval. Yeah, YouTube chat. See, friends on YouTube, this is why I don't particularly enjoy working on that platform. Microsoft should come up with an awesome framework like Flutter for building apps. What do you think we're doing? WebAssembly and Blazor server, just the hosting different. One in client browser, one in server. Yes, but you can't do Blazor server on a static website. Flutter is very hyped, yes. Maui is not a legacy framework. .NET Maui is in preview now. Preview 9, preview 10, and you're going to see the full version coming up early 2022. What is the use case for why someone would use WebAssembly versus server? I'm going to be quick on this because I need to get into today's topic. WebAssembly runs entirely in the browser. Server runs on a server. So you'll get pretty close to real-time interaction. You can run applications, high-performance calculations directly in the browser versus when you run on the server, you've got to wait for the server to come back. So there's a little bit of latency there. As a student, what should I learn first? Java or C#? C#. Oracle is no longer investing in developing the Java language. I'm a WPF developer. Blazor or Maui, which one can I pick for the future? Why not WPF? Why not WPF? You can do WPF on .NET 6, and we're improving it too. Otherwise, I would lean towards .NET Maui because you'll be able to take all your XAML skills, everything that you've learned how to do with WPF, and build and run everywhere. iOS, Mac, Android, and Windows. Is the session completed? What session completed? What do I prefer for creating desktop apps connected with SQL Server on Linux? I don't. I build web apps to take care of that. So that I have cross-platform and platform capabilities, and I can instantly deploy. Do I need a Mac to develop iOS applications with Maui? You need a Mac to deploy iOS applications with Maui. So, you used .NET Maui framework in 2010. No, you didn't. You used Xamarin. Why Visual Studio is not there for Linux like Mac? Is Microsoft biased against open source? Excuse me. Take a look at how much Microsoft has contributed to open source. Take a look at how many millions of dollars Microsoft has invested in Linux, contributed to Linux, donated to the Linux Foundation, the JavaScript Foundation, and more. Microsoft is not biased against open source by any stretch. Microsoft makes premium products that folks are going to purchase on those platforms where that investment is going to return properly. Would it be a good idea to start a new project with .NET Maui, even if it's in preview, or start with Xamarin and migrate after? It depends on how long your development roadmap is. If you're looking at about 6 months development, go with Maui. If you're looking at about a year of development, go with Xamarin. Do I think Node, React, or any new stack will overtake C# and Java? Well, Node actually has more developers right now. That said, as a .NET developer who's been using Node for the past few weeks, the tooling and the experience and the security interactions are dreadful, in my opinion. I have zero confidence that I'm building and deploying something that's going to be supported and that has security patches being delivered. So, while, yes, there's lots of folks using it, the tooling is absolutely dreadful, in my opinion. Can we do WPF on Mac? No, it's a Windows framework. Take a look at something like Avalonia or .NET Maui in the future. Blazor WASM or Blazor server for large apps? Depends. Is it possible to inject Blazor WebAssembly into a console app? No. No. I heard C# support is poor on VS Code. No, it's not. Any books recommend... the language server on VS Code is the same as it is in Visual Studio. It just takes time to sync them up. Any book recommendations on advanced topics to level up as a junior developer? No. Because all the things are online, and it takes about a year to write a book. Yes, W does stand for Windows in WPF. You like to do Blazor WASM hosted, which gives you both WASM and server? Yes, kind of. ASP.NET Core reporting tools? No. I don't know. Blazor server would be more secure? Yes. Does Azure offer macOS machines yet? I thought Azure DevOps does. Which cross-platform UI do I prefer for a learner? I'm gonna tell you to go to .NET Maui when it comes out. It is quite trolly this Monday, indeed. Why is C# not used as widely as Java in competitive? Define competitive programming. Yes, GitHub. Microsoft went and bought GitHub and then bought NPM and gives away all of that for free. They should extend my work title as head of streaming platforms. D-Trouble, thank you so much for that. Microsoft is actually third contributor to open source after Intel and Google. Disagree. Take a look at the investments, financial investments, not just software that happen out there. Yes, the YouTube chat questions are a little bit questionable. Can you use C# in an embedded system? Yes, you can, Olive. How can I move to... same question again, social time. How can you move? Don't know. I live in the States. I don't organize and make that happening. Visual Studio on Mac, but not on Linux. We'll just have to develop an alternative IDE. Sure. There are folks that have done that. Guido and the team at Microsoft are making Python faster. Yes. Guido van Rossum is now on our language development team. So, will Visual Studio 2019 support .NET 6? I don't believe so. I'm not quite sure. We're not building anything today. We're going to be talking about C# 9 and 10 features. Node is cool, but it's the Wild West. Completely agree. Support is really hard. Any videos on Fluid Framework? I'm going to have to talk to those folks. Sorry. Yes, interactive notebooks are amazing, Eric, and we're not going to be using them today, but I have about a dozen of them in our repository we're going to be working with. What's the best way to learn in depth? Watch the videos that we've built, read through the docs and the tutorials that we have online. When will Maui documentation come out? When Maui comes out. Can Blazor UI be as good as JavaScript frameworks? Better. Computationally intense interactions on Blazor are significantly better. Like orders of magnitude better than the JavaScript frameworks. But if you're just repainting areas of the screen, it's not as good. And it's getting better. Any videos available to create cross-platforms apps? This is like the fourth time you've asked me this. What is the best way to learn C? You've asked me that again. .NET use Kestrel Server like .NET Core. Yes, .NET 6 is an evolution of .NET Core. Kestrel and ASP.NET Core are all the same there. There was a session this morning on .NET on IoT devices. Yes. Is it possible to convert TypeScript and React.js to plain JavaScript in the .NET framework? Why? That's the point of JavaScript, is that it does do that. Best place to get started with .NET C#. How you doing? Is that good start with programming in C++? No. Can we develop simple games using Blazor? Yes. Are Microsoft's tutorials the best place for beginners to get started with C#? I wrote or helped plan them. Yes. Any other good sources? Check out my friends at Wintellect Now and LinkedIn Learning. Can you do Unity over Blazor WebAssembly? Why? You want to redeem hamster mode. How easy is it to maintain entity framework projects? Real easy. Blazor WASM add Docker support threw you off? Yeah. Not for static hosting. I kind of agree with you there, John. That I would like to see a Docker for static hosting Blazor WebAssembly. I think it is about time to move on. Lots of good questions coming through here. No, we're not developing a new JavaScript engine. That's why we adapted the Chromium engine for Edge. Agreed. YouTube chat is turning into a web search session. Am I a Python developer? My handle is CSharpFritz. No. Okay, moving on. Let's get ready. Let's talk about C#9. Let's talk about C#10. We're about an hour in. I want to make sure we covered all the cool things that were happening from .NET Conf. Go check out the website. Let me go and show you that website. .NETconf.net. Check it out. There's the link in chat. 80 sessions as part of this. We had about another 10 or 12 that were made available directly to YouTube. So we hit 92, 95 sessions that you can find. All these great sponsors that you can find out there. You can see all the content listed here that we had during the event. It was all live. All the great speakers are listed here. And there are now local events for the next about 2 months. Somewhere in your part of the world, you will find an event, except Australia. What's going on there, Australia? Can we work on that? Folks speaking, teaching, and representing some of this content, answering questions. Check it out. There's about 70 different events all around the world. Find one close to you, attend it, have a good time, support your local community. So that's coming up. There was, of course, a bunch of free swag that you can get your hands on, digital swag, including wallpapers, 3D printable designs. If you want to, where'd it go? If you want to print your own .NET bot, there is a .NET bot here available for you to print. There is a Visual Studio logo that you can print. I'm not sure what's the belt? What's the belt? Oh, cool. That's kind of neat. All right. I didn't know that was a thing. So check it out. There's 3D printable designs, .NET purple theme for your Visual Studio Code, and mod.NET bot.net. You can create your own .NET bot that meets whatever your style is, and have some fun with that. So check it out there, mod.netbot.net. Completely free, and you can share that wherever you'd like on social media. We had a great time putting together that for everybody. All right? So, all the cool things going on out there. Will Microsoft destroy UWP? No, we've evolved it to WinUI, and we're evolving that even further to put .NET Maui on top of it so you can build and deliver it everywhere. All right, moving on. We're going to be over here. We're going to start talking about C#9 features, and then we're going to talk about C#10 features. There's a link for you in chat. Get you right into it. We're not using .NET notebooks because some of these features we're going to talk about don't work in notebooks, like top-level statements don't work in notebooks. Are there any Microsoft websites built with Blazor? Yes. There was a complete set of topics about that last week that you can go and tune into in Dan Roth's session about enterprise-grade Blazor. In fact, we're even shipping it in some applications. So, yeah, there's the introductory level statement from Stream Elements. All right, moving on. Let's get ready. Let's head over to the other set, so we can start talking about this. All right. Let's head over to the other set and get in the code here. Heading over to the other set. It's over here with the stuff. Hi! I'm zoomed in a little bit there. Not gonna lie. We'll be alright. We'll be alright. I'm gonna put my coffee up there. And let's move the mouse back here. Move the things around a little bit. And I've got you, chat room, over here on my teleprompter, so I can see all that's going on there. Taking a tech break while house cleaning. Hey, Smab, hello. People be like, is Blazor safe for production? Yes. Yes, it is. Very safe. All right. Let's talk about C#, and then we'll quickly, and then we'll get into some of the C# 10 topics here. Hey, you, headset, get back over here. Headset cable, thank you. So let's talk about C# 9 to start. Where is that? It's in my sessions folder. Season 1, no, 1, and we're going to talk about, yeah, there it is. C# 9. And let's do this one in Visual Studio Code. What do we got here? I have the patience of a saint. Thank you, Eggsy. How do you change the command prompt? Check out my dot files. When you go out to github.com/CSharpFritz, check out dot files. And this is Oh My Posh is what it's called. And there's all kinds of configuration there. My dot files have my configuration for this listed. You can download it and give it a try on your PowerShell system, PowerShell prompts. That's a really big font. Yes, well, I want to make sure that you can see it if you're watching on your phone. Okay, moving on. So I opened VS Code. There we go. Not now. Go away. Same thing with you. Go away. So there's a README here in the folder. There are 5 features to really talk about here. Record data types, init-only setters, top-level programs, pattern matching, target-typed new expressions. Let's get into these. We're going to go through this quickly because I expect that some of you already know how to do some of this. So let's start off talking about records. A record, where is it? So we're used to writing classes to define things like a person, like this, with properties, first name, last name, and a toString method here that formats it how we'd like. And we have some sort of a constructor like this, and we'll use a little bit of destructor capability here, decomposing, so that we can assign it to, take the values passed in and assign it to those properties. That's kind of tricky, okay? But we can also define a record, which is a reference type, just like a class. And we can put properties and a constructor in there as well and interact with that. But we can also do a positional record like this, where we can define a cool person that has what looks like just a constructor. This is a reference type, this record here, just like a class. But I defined it in one line here, and it has properties, first name and last name. So up here, I can define, right, and this is the example we used last time when we first learned this, I can define a cool person, Jeff Fritz, and that person has properties. There you go, look at it. First name and last name. I didn't have to create them. They're allocated for us, and we're able to compare these records by value, not by reference, by value on all of those properties very easily. So when you think about data access objects or view models that you're going to be passing around, right? They don't necessarily have methods on them. Creating a record like this just to do that data transport. I'm sorry, view model's the wrong type to refer to. Data transfer objects, a record, very handy. And the record also has a toString method embedded in it that is kind of sensible and will tell you the properties of that record. So let me enable demo 2 here, which also shows some inheritance capabilities. Yes, I keep installing the new PowerShell, and you keep telling me to install more new PowerShell. .NET run. Couldn't find a project to run because I'm probably... Yeah, I need to go down into the project. There we go. Well, that was wonderful. Thanks so much. Go back to program. Did I forget to turn on? I did. You go away. Do that again. So I'm going to run .NET run. There we go. So there, I've output a Rockstar record, and it gives me this nicely formatted information about it. Property name, value, property name, value, property name, value. My daughter fell in love recently after watching Bohemian Rhapsody with the band Queen, so Freddie Mercury has become quite a celebrity in our home. Okay. So we can also have records, as I was going to show there, we can have records inherit from other records, very much using the same syntax that you would have for classes. So here we have a rock star that has a first name, last name, and a band name, and it inherits from a cool person, first name, last name. So we have ways to interact with and pass this data back and forth and inherit from other records. Records are also immutable. So if you want to create and modify a value inside of a record, you have to use the with keyword, like here. So if I create a cool person, CSharpFritz, in order for me to change the first name on there, right, I can't just say p.firstname equals, right, equals Bob, right? See, I've got the red underlines here. See, now when I put my finger here, it doesn't tell me what that red underline is. I actually have to put the mouse there, and it'll tell me that it's an init-only property indexer, and it can only be assigned. So that's something that you need to use the with statement there to reassign. Okay? So records are immutable. Let me take a look at chat as I try to go through this quickly. Is a record type internally a struct or a class? Internally, it's a reference type, so it behaves the same as a class. And in C# 10, you can choose. That's right, Space Shot. Records are immutable, so why is a record struct not? I haven't gotten in that far yet. I'd have to take another look. I thought it was. At the IL level, is record still a class? We just had that question again. Please, I read all of your questions. You don't need to ask them 2 or 3 times. Would a record work with AutoMapper? You'd have to ask the folks at AutoMapper, but it should work. Perfect for value objects. Totally agree, Brave Cobra. That's a great example. DTO and value objects. A record is basically a simpler model object. Yeah. A facilitator, I don't know if I'd go quite that far. Yeah, record is a simpler class, is what I would suggest. All right. Moving on, then. So that's the introduction to records. We went through this last time, and go see the video online where I really went in depth on records if you want to learn more about that. Init-only setters. Let's talk about those. So init-only setters is a way for you to have properties here that can only be set in their initializer. So we've had the ability to do read-only properties like this. It's private to be set, and it can only be set in the constructor. But if you had a property that you only want to be set at initialization time, so it could be set in the constructor, or if you want to use the initializer syntax for creating a C# class instance, we can also use the keyword init. So let me scroll back up here. Right, this is that initializer syntax. You don't have to use a constructor to initialize these properties, but when I'm initializing them like this, I've constrained and you can't change them after they've been initialized. So once again, we're creating the effect of immutability. Immutability, they can't be changed. Once they're set, that's their value. You can't change them. So if I come down here and I say L.description equals, I can change all the things, right? So I'm trying to change it, and I've got a red underline there. It's not allowed. It's an init-only property or indexer. It can only be set at initialization time. And that might be important for you. If you're creating objects, maybe like I'm creating a log entry object here, you want it to only be set once, passed around and interacted with. This is a really cool feature that will help support that interaction. Scrolling down. Record as a DTO. Yes. Record inheritance. Yes, you can do that. Can we create a collection of records? Yes, you can. It's a very data-focused version of without mutating state. Yeah, space shot. Absolutely. You can create records that are received as data models for model binding in ASP.NET Core. You can work with that as well. Init is like read-only TG, but it's you can write to it still at initialization time, not just in the constructor. Read-only can only be configured in the constructor. So let me scroll down here. If I made this get set, and I made this the severity read-only, see this? Look, I've got a red underline here. Cannot be marked read-only because it has a set accessor. So if I get rid of that, so now I can't even set it at initialization time up here. So init just opens the door just a little bit further so you can set it here, not just in a constructor. So it gives that next bit of flexibility. And I hope that little demo, I hope, clears that up a little bit for you. Taking a look here. Can a record have a collection property? Sure. Okay. Moving on, let me get into top-level programs. Let's not show this top-level. Pattern matching, and let me show new target first. There's several different ways that you can create instances of classes. We'll talk about this and we'll get to top-level programs because it'll segue right into C# 10 very nicely. So when we talk about ways to create instances of classes, I can do something like this: var t equals new whatever that thing is. Right, so I've got this class, new target. Okay, fine. I can also define this, right, very explicitly like that, right? So I have two ways to do that. But maybe you want to have things line up so it's very clear that all the types are down the left side. You can do that and say equals new. Because we know what type you want to create. It's right there. So we're just shifting that syntax a little bit. So if you're telling me, here's what type I want, and you say, well, give me a new one of those. Okay, well, there it is. We'll create a new one of those things. So that's what the target-typed constructor is, right? Target-typed constructor. Did I get that right? Target type new expressions. I was close. Not really. So, and you can also use it when you have something defined like here, right? So this is an array of points that we want to create, so we can create it like this. That's some pretty sweet syntax. That I like, right? When you think about a point on a Cartesian plane, x and y coordinates, right? To be able to say new 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, that not only feels natural, but it reads natural for a point. You know, that's really cool. I like seeing that. Let me take a look back over here at chat. Yeah, it's just var, but it's on the right side. This one has a higher pitch. Sorry. No. And we've done some pretty amazing things with this mic. So, Brave Cobra prefers the var syntax. I agree. I like the var syntax also. This is all about flexibility, helping you code the way that makes sense for how you want to deliver. All right. No, C# is not just Java. Never mind. I'm not going to get to that discussion. All right. So the other feature, so pattern matching is out there. I'm not going to get, I don't want to dive into pattern matching, but I do want to talk about top level programs. So I can create a top level program, right? That looks like this. Just console.writeLine. Actually, I have to put system.console.writeLine. And it's one line to build my program. That's it, right? That's available in C# 9. You can do that in .NET 5. That's been around. But you can't have two top-level statements, so I'm going to comment out my program over here. And, really? And now when I .NET run over here, there it is. This is a top-level program. It ran this code right there. Now, this we saw as pretty compelling because we think that folks out there want to be able to build applications faster with writing less code. So this was really just a first step with C# 9. And we took it about 3 steps further with C# 10 because we wanted to enable folks to write entire C# programs with one file. And there's some folks that look at this and they say, well, you're hiding all the things that run this. Yes and no. Yes, we are. You can find some of those things in the obj folder if you want to go dig for that. It's not entirely here, but in some of the new things that we do, and I'll show you where it is. But do you really care? Do you really need to see how this thing is constructed and interacted with? Once you've run it a couple times and you know that this is a thing, who cares? Be more productive. Embrace it. Use it. There's great things that you can do with that now. And simplify and get rid of how much other code that you might have been working with. Can we use new on new target and what? And give it something from an array? I'm confused. This syntax looks similar to what Java had for a long time, but it's quite different. Yes. Is there a way to get C# to have a run context button, like other? Wait, what? Other language extensions in VS Code. That's what .NET notebooks are. Can we pass parameters like new? Yes. Let me go back to the new target. Yes, right there. when we're defining points, right? That's the constructor for point, right? var p equals new point, right? That's that constructor being passed in. So you absolutely can use the new target type and pass in arguments. Global namespaces next. Spoilers, Christian. Shh. What was this? Can you do multiple entry points of an assembly? No, you cannot. AWS uses that for Lambda. Is Maui a rebranding of Xamarin? It's an evolution of Xamarin. Main doesn't work to select an entry point with this. Correct. Maui is a significant evolution of Xamarin Forms. Okay. Let's move on now and talk about C# 10 and part of what has come along for the ride with this. So I'm not even going to go into that. Let's do a little bit of live coding here. Let's do .NET new console app live app. Let's do that. It's not console app, it's just console, isn't it? There it goes. Now, I have .NET 6 installed. I actually have a bunch of .NETs installed. Look at them all! I need to clean this up. It's like an unmade bed in here. I think I made this joke last time. But there it is, .NET 6. I had Preview 6 installed, but .NET 6 is installed for Windows desktop apps. .NET Core, ASP.NET Core is up there. If I scroll up a little bit, you'll see all the SDKs that I have installed in theirs. .NET 6.0.100, that's the production RTM version that was released last week. When you install this, if you're watching the recording at some point in the future, you may have other versions in there as well. But here in November 2021, those are the versions that we have available, that I have installed. Hey, Married Geeks, good to see you. Hello. All right. So, I created this console app. Let's take a look. Let's go into Live App. And, right, show that again. There you go. So it's got 3 files. Actually, the obj file is just the output of this thing compiling, restoring at this point. We'll compile and we'll have a bin folder. But there's my project file, and there's my program file. Let's take a look at that project file real quick. Look at this. Now, there's a couple new things in here that you might not be familiar with. We'll talk about those. But this is a .NET SDK. It's outputting an exe. Target framework is .NET 6. Implicit usings and nullable. We'll talk about those two in a second. But implicit usings. Interesting. And if we take a look at program, look at this. It's 1 line of code. Who would do that? Because really, if you just want to do hello world, that's all you need. And there it is. Now, okay, big deal. You did hello world in the on the command line with 1 line of code. Where are the using statements? Right, and how do I interact with this thing? Let's take another look at that folder, and let's look in that obj folder. Look at this. I'm going to walk all the way down. Not quite that far down. There we go. So I went down, and I'm inside of obj debug.net 6, and I've got all these files, and it generated a couple of these things. In particular, I want you to look at this one here, global usings.g.cs. We generated some global usings. These are implicit using statements that you can reference. Now, I wanted you to stop. There we go. And it generates these using statements for me. They're available in every file because, let's face it, you're probably going to put most of these as a using statement in your applications. And we settled on these because we went and we queried all of the C# repositories, public repositories on GitHub, and looked at what are the most common ones that are used for console apps. We did it again for ASP.NET apps. And I forget what the last one was. But we did it for several different app types, and we generate appropriate implicit using statements that you can choose to use inside your application. You can turn it off by setting that value to false. But look at that. System, collections, generic, IO, link, net HTTP, threading. Those are ones that just about everybody uses. And when we do a more on that project file again, you can turn those off so that you don't generate these and you have to put them into every file. Maybe you don't want it to be implied by just setting that enable to disable. It turns it off. Or you can even remove this line altogether and it'll turn it off as well. And you'll be forced to use them, to define them throughout your files. That may be what you're looking for. You may be like me and look at those extra lines of code in there and say, this is garbage. Get rid of them. Simplify things. I don't want to have to maintain them. I'm always expect them to be in my files. And that's a good thing for me. But it's up to you how you want to use the language. Let me take a look here at chat and get caught up. Yeah, I've had this machine for a while. Yeah. A little bit of a history of .NET. A little bit. It does reduce the number of useless lines at the start of most files. Yes, totally agree. Is it possible to customize that default global using? So, no. But we're going to do a little bit more with that. Let's figure this out. And I'm going to park that question for a little bit. And BR Marco asks, are these project-wide or solution-wide? These are project-wide. Yeah. So you can add other namespaces. Exactly. Enable to disable. Did I say that wrong? You can remove it. You can set it to disable to remove it. Can you customize implicit usings? We can add our own and define them. So I've got those ones defined right there. If I were to, let's say, create a... I'm going to go over to the sample that I wrote. Because I've already got it built. No, stop it. Stop it! No. I've gone too far. Here we go. I've already written some files here, and I've actually got it open over here in Visual Studio 2022. And I've added some content. If we take a look here, thanks. Simplify. There we go. So I've got my property groups in here, root namespace is defined, and I've included a package here, link to CSV. Link to CSV lets me run link-like queries against comma-separated value files, right? Comma-delimited files you have saved to disk. I can load up in query and interact with those as though it was a collection of link documents, linkable documents. So I wrote a models folder here, and I put a contact class out here that I'm going to load data in from. So public class contact, name, city, and I put a little validate here. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, but this is clearly in the models folder. Now I'm going to want to use things from models everywhere throughout my code and kind of by default have that included in everything. So to the questions of, well, can I add my own usings? Can I customize it? I just wrote one file out here that I called underscore usings, and I did that so that it moves to the top of the folder structure here. When I look at all my files, it moves to the top. So it's kind of a meta property, is why I decided to name it underscore usings. We haven't figured out what the standard or the convention for creating these files is going to be. I liked underscore usings and just put here they are and I can define those that are going to be common for this application. System text JSON, maybe another one that you use frequently in your project and you want to include it here. So real easy, global, using, and the name of that namespace that you want to be globally available throughout your project. Consequently then, if I go over here to program, I've got console write line hello world. We can write some code then to read these contacts. Right, so I have a header row, name city, so I've got Jeff in Philadelphia, Scott in Seattle, Maddie's in Boston, and David is in St. Louis. I can load those in with just a couple lines of code here. So let's comment out that default console write line here. Let's write a little bit of code to get that data in here for me. So I'm going to create a context, and I'm going to create a new link to CSV CSV context. CSV context, and I'm going to point it at, what was it, contacts CSV. Oh, I need to tell it the type. You're reading a contact. I didn't have to specify namespace for that. It just found it. I thought I had, hang on. Right, new CSV context. Let's get rid of this, and we can generate my one using statement for this. I thought it was a generic. What don't you like about that? No, I shouldn't have to specify it. New CSV context. I thought I could do that. Oh, come on now. Go find it. Nope. Link to CSV context. I'm forgetting. No. Over here. There was a quick way to do this, and I'm forgetting my demo. New CSV context. No, it's on the read when you go after it. Well, rats. All right. So. No, it still wants the another argument here. So right, so when I say CTX, read, and yeah, here we go. I want to read out contact objects from contacts, CSV, and let's call those contacts right here. Okay. So now, right, I can just do a for loop across that. Contact in contacts. Console write line. Contact contact name is in contact city. Okay. And run that. You didn't like that, did you? Could not find... What do you mean you couldn't find it? Oh, it copied it down. 1 second. Got to copy it to the output folder. Yep, none. Copy always. One more time. There it is. Jeff is in Philadelphia, Scott is in Seattle, Maddie is in Boston, David is in St. Louis. Okay. So I was able to write a very simple program that was able to open and read and interact with contact objects from a CSV file in 6 lines of code. The contact object is defined somewhere else. that might be some business logic that's stored in a NuGet package that you pull in, right? A business object, fine. But the point is the same. We're able to do quick interactions and build pretty interesting applications with very low code. Is there a way that you can turn on a main method in .NET 6 in code? Yes. Don't write any top-level application content like this, and just public static void main, and it'll go find it. In program CS, it'll implicitly define that. Can you follow along in Linux? Yes, absolutely. Link to CSV we use a lot on .NET Conf. Might want to make the directory build properties safe to post. I don't know what you're talking about. No, it's not demo gods. I was just forgetting it. I went through and planned a bit here. Ooh, what happened there? YouTube just kind of disappeared on chat. Not that I'm arguing. You want a Microsoft hat too? Sorry. Can you do destructuring just like JavaScript? Yes, absolutely. But why? Like, I've already got the object, right? I could absolutely decompose it, right? And well, hang on. I'm returning an object there that I'm interacting with. I mean, not in the for each, but in a for loop you could do that. Show contact CS? Sure. There's contact. And we'll talk about validate here in just a second. I don't Google and I don't have a MacBook. That's right. Completely disagree. What's the point of having it? Can't use the file. I don't know what you're asking about. I'm not going to get into it. You didn't understand omitting main completely? What do you mean? Would it only work if you have one CS file if it's only for writing procedural codes? No. I've got many files here. My program CS file, and you can call this whatever you'd like. You can only have one file with top-level code, otherwise it throws it'll throw in an error at you. So if we say add class file, right, and I call this foo, right, get rid of all this. Console, right line, foo. I'm taking over the app, right? First off, look. Only one compilation unit can have top-level statements. It's already seeing this, and Visual Studio is telling me, you can't do this. Okay? You can only have one top-level statement, and it's knocking me out there. And if I try to build failed, and I get that error here. So, and then there's, right, turn off the warnings. Okay? Can't do it. Only one top-level statement. And even if I turn this into public class, foo, public, static, void, main, string args, right? It's there. It's not in the program file, so it's not going to recognize it by default and immediately go and read and load it. But it needs to be in program in order to be detected and loaded. So, no, don't delete program, delete foo. There you go, Fritz. Get on the ball here. All right, moving on. Let me go to some more questions here. Can I show the CSproj file as to how I added it to the implicit using? It's not added to the implicit using. Yeah, thanks. I told you could do that. Implicit usings is enabled by default. I can turn that off, by setting it to disable, and it now requires me to go type all of those other using statements. It doesn't know what console is. It doesn't know what argument exception is, because that global using for system isn't made available. So set that to enabled, and now using system is available in all of your files. I don't have to go and copy it around to all the places. I use it in the for each by using select. Sure, right? I could do var name, var city, and in contacts dot select, right? C dot name, C dot city. I could do that. Right? And I need another paren there. There we go. You could do this and decompose into those types. You could. But why? I've already got my contact object there, and it's being returned nicely in the contact type. I see that as introducing complexity, when that is nice and simple and easy to read, and I can mouse over contact, and I can see that it is a contact type. I can then work with it at that point. So let me take a look at chat here. How to return an exit code in Program CS? You mean like that? Exited with code 1. There it is. So, easy to do. Okay? You just type return, just like you would expect. Think of top-level statements like this as they're being wrapped in a program static, in a public static void main method. Okay? Args is here, right? Args is here. Look, args, right? Now, it didn't pass any arguments in. But if I go in here and right-click and where is it? Properties on the project. If I go down to debug. Where is it? I can pass arguments here. Yeah, command line arguments. Foo. Bar. Baz. Bot. Run it again. And there they are. So the arguments are made available. You can work with them. That's a pretty cool thing. Let me take a look at any other questions we have here. So, because there's a couple other big things you can get into here. Any special reason why the class templates haven't been updated? No specific reason yet, to my knowledge. You can use, well, that's not adding implicit usings. That's creating a global using. So the other item that's being shown here, that's being mentioned. So I added a global using by creating a usings statement here. Some folks can want to use directory properties to be able to set up, and you can, inside of an item group, you can add, I'm not going to put it with the package references, right? But I can say, come on, item group, using, right? Include, and I can also remove, but I could say link to CSV, right? Is that the, no. Come on, I copied. Thank you. And now when I go back over to program, the link statement is out there. To see it grayed out. because it's been picked up directly in the project file and it still works when I remove it. So, different places you can put it and interact with it, okay? I am not a fan, in my tinkering and working with this, I am not a fan of putting the using statements inside the project file. At the point that I'm active in coding, to me, this is my preference, to me, putting it in here hides it. And it's not appearing like a using statement that I would see elsewhere in other files. That's why my personal preference right now is to create something like this usings file where I can see it inside my project. It's right there, and I can go and load that up. You can create directory build properties and pass it around, share that, but I can share it as class file, this C# file with other projects. So environment exit, yeah, that works also for that return question earlier. Less code equals less maintenance and reading required. Totally agree. In 9 years of coding, I don't think I ever returned anything in the main method. Yeah, see. People are having problems with the top level statement. No, I don't think they're having problems. I think it's an adjustment. Is it able to resolve an async main function? Yes. Yes, it can do that. If I'm a very small console app that does a thing and bails, there is value in returning an error code to be consumed by the user. Totally agreed. Right? I see these types of things as something that are really cool to put into a Docker container so that you have that little utility. You can just Docker run and point to something and poof, done. You can't see the advantages of hiding the namespace and the statement itself. Well, hiding that one that is literally only used here, I agree. I don't see an advantage in doing that. Putting the things like my models, think about an ASP.NET Core application where you have a models folder that has, right, the data objects that you're going to use throughout your application. Or maybe you've got a project that you're referencing or a NuGet package you're referencing that has your business objects in it, your domain models in it. You're going to want a using, my application dot domain models pretty much in all of your files that are working with that business logic. So instead of repeating that in all the places, to just kind of have it be available natively everywhere, it's kind of handy. Can I show the C# version of JavaScript promise? No, I'm not going to get into that. We talked about async in a previous video. Sorry, that's off topic. You declare your int as the return type for main? Yes. Does it matter? Does it matter where with directory? Stop it. You love all the C# 10 changes. It's going to be very good for those starting with the language. There you go. As long as you can have 12 and it goes to the correct method. Totally agree. It's not an adjustment. It's Microsoft forcing their paradigm. Completely disagree with that because you don't have to use this. You don't have to. If all of these features, they're not required. You can completely do this the way that previously was available. No changes needed. And that's fine. To get C# closer to the JavaScript world? No. The advantage, so in surveys that we ran with beginner developers, all of the ceremony of defining using statements, namespaces, classes, and methods just to get to console write line, having to define all of these things just to get to console write line or to whatever little bit of business logic you're doing was a lot. And it was something that isn't common in other programming languages. So if we can make all of those features optional, and get you into building your business logic as fast as possible. And if you still want to build things that way, that's okay. You can still do that. That's a pretty good thing. That's a pretty good thing to get folks in and get them productive as quickly as possible. So, there are people on YouTube asking to be banned. Yep, language features like var makes life easier. Don't have to use it. It's available. Right, and you don't have to buy into classes to get started with Python either. Pardon me for a second. Okay. Goodbye. I don't like to ban folks, but we have to sometimes. Can I show switch expressions? Talked about that in a previous episode. You can go back and watch that in the archive. Yep, focuses on getting new developers. Make it easier for folks to get started by writing less code. So the other thing to look at over here is we can now use file scoped namespaces like this. In looking at and analyzing code, once again, we had this idea of most folks only have one namespace per file. And we went and analyzed the open source code that was available on YouTube. Anybody can do this. The code is publicly available, so go ahead and take a look at the code that's out there. It's ridiculous, like 99.999 and some number of nines out there, all have one namespace per file. So why force people into having all these extra indents to indent their code just so they can put a namespace there that is pretty much ignored most of the time, because it's the same namespace for everything that's in the file. So instead of having namespace as a block, it's a namespace statement. Namespace, models, semicolon, and everything in this file is in that namespace. Done. If you need to have multiple namespaces per file, fine. Go back to putting your namespace the other way. That's just fine. You can still use that syntax, and it works. And then you can put your other namespace right below it for your next thing. Right? Dot foo public class bar. Okay. And you can do that if that's what you need. But overwhelmingly, folks don't need multiple namespaces per file. At which point, just create another file. But another just make things easier on folks and get rid of all that extra tabbing. Move it over, and we know what this is. So it's a comfort thing to make folks' jobs and code readability easier. Let me take a look back at chat here. We're doing this. We're trying to make it easier for folks to learn. Absolutely. In your opinion, it'll end up confusing them unless the entire language is changed to no need for namespaces. Completely disagree. No. So, do I think features like this make current C# devs jump ship? I think it makes. I think it's interesting to me that there are folks that get so angry about this when you haven't been using this feature. You just aren't. Program static void main, you put things in that file and you forget it. Well, what if we get rid of all the ceremony around that? you write dozens of using statements at the top of a file and you collapse them up and hide them. Let's make it easier to get rid of those things. You're already doing these things. Let's make it an optional part of the language if that's something that's going to make it easier for folks to interact with it. How's unit testing support for top-level statements? So you want to test the top-level statements. So it's something I haven't experimented with, but should be doable. The trick is you need to be able to create and interact with it. Top-level statements are that user interface that you're connecting with, that you're interacting with. You don't want to test that. You want to test the things that it calls. So, you typically don't test public static void main. Typically, you test what it calls. Boomy LOL on Twitch says, I've been coding C# for 9 years, and Boomy did not know you can have more than one namespace in a file. Right. Yeah. So if that's the rationalization for the namespace, then why not make it directory based on top of the project root namespace? That's a very Java way to do things, and I think that was a little bit of a step beyond what the team was comfortable doing. So maybe that's possible in the next version of C#, but baby steps. Let's see how this is received, and based on some of the response that we've heard, making that directory level, which sounds like a pretty good idea to me, to be perfectly honest. Taking that step, I think we would have seen some folks pretty unhappy. Pretty unhappy. Is the first character underscore the convention? Because the first character of this project is 01, say 01. You can't by C# standards, you can't start a namespace. You can't start a name with a numeric character. So it turns it into an underscore, so that it becomes proper C# syntax. Let me take a look here. Technically, you can put in all your classes in one file. Yes, you could put all of your classes and records in one file. If link to CSV, right? If it knew how to read a contact as a record, I could have certainly put a contact record here, right? I mean, gosh. To just add in here public record my contact to make it different. String name, string city, right? That's really cool to use if link to CSV knew how to work with a record. It doesn't, so we can't, and right, I would need to move this down to the end. It doesn't know how to deal with it, so in this sample, it doesn't. There might be another CSV library that does know how to work with records that this would be possible with. I didn't do the research into it. I like link to CSV, but right, I wouldn't need that whole models folder. I would have just an extra line to define my data type that I was receiving. That's even better. That's even cooler to work with. There is a new feature here as well called a Struct record. So where a record is a reference type, just like a class, you can label something as a struct record. And see, I'm not doing this right. Where is it? Do I have it backwards? I think I have it backwards. Is it that way? There we go. Order of... See, I haven't been using this feature. Right, and now this is a value type. So it's only stored on the stack and goes out of memory when the method ends. So that's available to you now in C# 10. Let me keep looking here at chat. I've got about 5 minutes to go. I want to make sure I answer your questions. The last thing that I want to cover here is over in that validate method. Yeah, I've been listening to folks about it, and there's folks saying, oh, I don't want that. Okay, that's fine. Are there C# exercises on await async? Take a look at my previous video in this this series. Does C# have an alternate package manager tool like F#'s Packet? Packet works with C# as well. But .NET command line and NuGet both do the same thing. You can have a class in a class. Yep. Java folder nightmare. That was a little bit of the concern there, Sebastian. Yes. Hey there, Mr. Hackers on YouTube. Is there a way to benchmark methods or API calls from Visual Studio without the... No. Take a look at benchmark.net to help you with that. Jimmy Engstrom. A little bit hesitant with top-level statements, but it is awesome. Yeah, I kind of agree. You have a problem with top-level statements. Okay. You don't have to use them. Yeah, record struct. Yeah, I got it in the wrong order. All right. Okay. Last thing I wanted to show you before I wrap up here is over here in my contact object. We can do... You're mocking me now. This. I did it wrong. Yes. I debugged into it. Wrong key. This thing. All right. There is now an argument here called caller argument expression. What this is this attribute will allow you to point to another parameter on this method and grab whatever was passed in there and pass it as a string into this other parameter. The idea being then we're going to be able to create some other logging and error reporting and error checking and validating methods that are real easy for folks to be able to read exactly what content was passed into and validate against. So I can say, well, if this condition, throw a new argument message and a new argument exception and pass that message through it with whatever the parameter was that was attempting to be validated. So in my contact, I've included and said here, validate the city argument and make sure that it's not null or empty. So I'll go back over here to program and let's remove some of this. And let's say var c equals new contact, name equals foo, right? And now if I say c validate, right, I'm going to get my argument exception here. And I want you to see what that argument exception looks like. There it is. So argument exception, and it's telling the string, the message that's being passed back by my argument exception is, here's the argument test, the condition, right? As a string, it passed it to me. And the argument exception always tells me the parameter name as well. So I get all of that information coming back that I can now work with as somebody in operations managing this. We've got 2 minutes left. Those are the things I wanted to show you in C# 10 because they're kind of controversial, even though they're very simple reformattings of what we can do with the files. But I think you're going to find that they make your coding experience easier across the board. All right. So, we learned a lot today. We covered a lot. We went through C# 9. We talked to folks about what happened during .NET Conf, and we got into things with C# 10, what arrived in the new version of .NET 6. Taking a look here at some other comments. Microsoft's version of Fluent Validator, it will enable that type of Fluent validation for anybody to be able to write. I mean, I wrote 2 lines of code there. You don't like minimal APIs and it seems new template force it. The new templates make it available. Minimal APIs have always been possible. You've always been able to do that. You don't have to do it. The new templates encourage it because, quite frankly, that's the fastest way to do it. Where's the primary stream from this? There is no primary. We simulcast to both Twitch and YouTube. And Microsoft Learn, but looks like we had a problem transmitting to them today. Thinking about writing an analyzer to get the old syntax back easily? That's fine. No, we are listening, actually, Brave Cobra, and there's a lot of folks that are vocal that they do like it. They're just not out there on Twitter and other places saying, oh my gosh, we don't like this. They are saying, oh, this is really good. This makes things easier. I can build a microservice in 3 lines of code. I like that. I like that a lot. So, what's the purpose of using record? Already talked about that. O365 plugin's going to be Blazor in the future? Don't know. I would have to talk to them. Yes, they removed the old templates. If you'd like, the old templates can be reinstalled if you'd like. But folks really like that syntax. Even though it's been there since ASP.NET Core 1.0. It's always been available. And we've just made it a heck of a lot easier for folks to get to. You're asking a Microsoft employee to choose between their product and somebody else's. How to use .NET Interactive Notebooks with C# and VS Code. Look at some of the other videos in this series and you'll see how I use them. Will Blazor components be able to work in WPF and .NET 6? Yes, take a look at the web view. The web view component that's now Blazor web view component for WPF is available. All right, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I need to head over. I'm going to be joining my friends over at Progress Software. They have a webinar starting that I'm actually a little bit late for. So let me get you set up for a raid over on the big Twitch TV network. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, that are watching on Learn TV, thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you joining us. But today, I'm going to get you connected. You know what? I want to get you connected with somebody on the Microsoft Developer channel. They're working on Fusion development. Let's go check them out. Let's raid them. And I will see you tomorrow over on my channel, twitch.tv/CSharpFritz. We'll be over there talking about Blazor, not talking about Blazor, I'm sorry. It's November. We're going to be working in Node all month long. Alrighty, friends. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.